Happy Friday if you're on this side of the world. Happy Saturday morning if you're on the other. Hello, everyone. Mm, it's a interesting Friday. There is so much to talk about, and it's not what I scheduled. So, I hear you all. I've been getting the messages. Um, but that's not what's scheduled. Hmm. We should all you know what, Mark, that would be a given. That might be the center square. If we're gonna do bingo on Bear always being late, I do have a few. I'm usually a few minutes late because stuff happens. Just it's either a tech issue or I'll be very honest with you today. It was a surprise pop-in from a young gentleman who is related to me who just had something they wanted to tell me, and you know I really enjoy being with all of you, but I've got one rule, and my mods know it. Those that hang out with me, in the servers and around, they know in real life first, right? So that was that, and it took like 2 minutes, and he told me a really corny joke. Um, hey, Record, Liam, Mark, you really start the stream out. I mean, you call a bear gorgeous, and I can't help but have a good stream, right? I mean, that's it. Okay. I mean, I could just end the stream right now on a good note, you know. Hey, Michaela, Juju, Leon in purple, Shill. Purple, I don't know. I'm just gonna call you Shill because like you keep changing your name. I like that. Let's hear the joke then. I probably already told it to you because he told it to me again to make sure because he had texted it to me before, and so now you want to hear it again? All right. Okay, you asked for it. Like this. All right, everybody. When you groan and want to throw things, make sure you throw them at record. Okay. All right. Because okay. How do you learn how to make ice cream? Yeah, it's the one from the other day, record. It's the one that he texted me. Yeah. It's a good one. He also gave me some artwork, yeah, that he had done. Do you want to know how do you study to make ice cream? According to the little man, you go to Sunday school. Hmm. Yeah, it's that corny. Yep, you go to Sunday school. He's got some good ones. You go to Sunday school. Hey, throw everything at record. That's not my first. Michaela, yes, I learned from a recipe. You know, it is cute, Juju. We're having a contest on the corniest jokes ever. Like I could sit here and do the whole stream on them actually, but they're really really bad jokes. Maybe I'll give you another one later. But in the meantime, we've got two cases to talk about on the schedule today that had some movement, some very interesting movement. And although I don't have a smashing badasser kind of, presentation for you, I do have a lot to say and a lot of information to give you. Both the two cases were New Mexico versus Alec Baldwin in the Rust case, in the Rust shooting case, the manslaughter case, uh, the death of Hyla Hutchinson. Unfortunate, unfortunate and sad. And we watched Hannah Gutierrez get convicted of manslaughter, and she's serving her 18 months. So she was the armorer for Rust, and now Alec Baldwin, although originally charged with manslaughter and then dropped after the incident, has now been recharged with manslaughter after further testing on the gun and further statements that he made that didn't coincide with the evidence that they had. That seems to be a trend. That's how these people get their additional charges. Several cases going on right now. The jury is in deliberations on Karen Reed. She also had her charges up after other unfortunate interviews that she did, making statements that made them lead to otherwise, and evidence came forward. And Sarah Boone also. We go back and forth all the time in regards to Sarah Boone being overcharged. But yes, before you all start, okay, yes, we will be talking about Sarah again on Tuesday. So please join me again Tuesday night for our regular Tuesday true crime and legal update. There's been movement there too, and we've got stuff to talk about. Um, and we'll probably even talk about, you probably will need a place to just talk a little bit about whatever happens with Karen Reed right now, and we'll see. We also have a Tate update coming Tuesday, but right now I am going to put up a poll and give you the choice of who we start with now that I have said my hellos. And I'm sorry if you can hear me type. I think I have the background eliminator on, but it still comes through sometimes. How's the sound otherwise? I got new internet today. I got new equipment. I had an excellent appointment with the tech. The tech was like really good and professional and funny and, just a pleasant person. Like I wasn't even intimidated or annoyed at all, which was good and not very common in my case. I'm just going to put them down by what they're commonly known by, and that would be Rust or TikTok Psychic. And I don't mean that detrimentally against Ashley Guillard, because like that's just what she's known. That's what the case is known by. All right. Okay, everybody, let's vote, and then we will get to it. In the meantime, let's just catch up. I see you're already voting in the chat, and thank you, Michaela. Michaela, I'm sorry. I keep saying it with a hard CH. It's just the way I've seen it more, and I'm sorry. Hello, Cinnamon. Welcome. Welcome. Hey, Couch. Nice to see you. Hey, KCG. I am just listening over here on X. I don't know how this works. You can actually comment on X if you'd like, but listen away. Those views count for Twitter views, and that's fine. I'm glad you can listen either way. Welcome. I've been trying to see how we could do this to Facebook also, but like I kind of pulled away from Facebook a long time ago. So like I'm not like I do some advertising there for the channel, but like I don't know about streaming over there. Like I don't know. You just adjusted something and got even clearer? Did I, Liam? Because I haven't touched a thing. All I did was type the poll. Maybe StreamYards just did something for me. Hi, Karen. Welcome. All right. So, okay. Wow. You guys want to start? Let's start with Alec. Hello, Cass. Good to see you. I know everybody's been here. My internet feels powerful. Wait, I gotta put that up. Juju, you crack me up. Your internet feels powerful. I can sense the connection. Mark, don't tease me. You've been come on, like you started with all that flattery. Now you're going to tease me and say I have the mute button on. No, stop it, stop it. Thank you, Cinnamon. Anyway, all right. Since you said Rust, let me just pull this up. You hear me catching my breath? Like there's a lot about Alex I got to talk about. Like it's a lot of legal stuff today, which is like, that's my passion. You also know I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a woman named Bear with a mic. I don't know how much I can stress that. How about just a little cray now? Like cray cray? Like cray cray, like there is, yeah, there is a little bit of cray cray. And Juju, I promise you, there will be cray cray as we carry on with the rest of tonight, because we're gonna talk, like I said, this is all about Alec, New Mexico versus Alec Baldwin in the Rust shooting, and we need to talk about Scofield versus Guillard, which is the TikTok psychic defamation case against the law professor. Um, it's going to be interesting. There have been some filings, I mean, some rather surprising, and actually for me, very interesting and intriguing. I use the word intriguing, yes. Instead of like insanity, I'm using the word intriguing in regards to the filings made by Ashley Guillard recently, like 2 days ago, like 3 days ago, rather. Um, all right. So you said let's start with Alex. So we are. All right. Alex is scheduled for trial on July 10th. Okay. There are motions though. One of the biggest, there was a hearing recently, and the prosecution is trying to get uh this is our judge, Mary Malo Summer. We're going to talk about her. But remember Hannah Gutierrez. She's the armorer. We did do some follow up in everything on her trial, on her case as it went through in her hearings. Okay. And Hannah was convicted of manslaughter. She got 18 months and a fine. Okay. And during her trial, there was a lot of evidence put through into regards of things that Alec Baldwin himself had done. Okay. The prosecution used that evidence, and so did the defense. Okay. Now, the same prosecution, Morrissey, Ms. Morrissey, the prosecutor, wants to compel Hannah Gutierrez to testify. She asked the judge, she petitioned the court to use an immunity to compel Hannah to testify. There was a deposition, and Hannah brought her lawyer. And even without her lawyer's prompting, which for some reason during the last hearing, the prosecution went on about the fact that Hannah Gutierrez used her right to stay silent so that nothing could be used against her. She invoked her Fifth Amendment repeatedly without prompting from her attorney or advice. She wouldn't answer the questions. She doesn't want anything to do with it. And she does not want to testify. So in frustration, and you could tell, like I use that word, like I don't use that word often in regards to the professionals, but it appeared to me the prosecution, Ms. Morrissey, would very, very frustrated in regards to this, because now she put through a motion that said she's going to grant immunity so that nothing she says could be used against her, but she wants the judge to compel her to testify. And the judge was like, but she's already said she doesn't want anything to do with it. And she's already said she's going to invoke her fifth. So even if she compels her to testify, she could not answer the questions. And so, well, our judge, in all reasonableness, denied the motion by the state to compel Hannah Gutierrez to testify. So unless she wants to, she's not going to be there. Now, they could still use all the evidence that was presented in the trial, but they're not going to get to hear from Hannah directly how Alec wouldn't take instruction from her or how he made her feel or whatever. Now, this could be in Hannah's best interest if you think about it, just as a layperson, right? Was not Alec her boss? Is he not an industry producer? She is going to get out of jail soon, and she is going to want to work in the industry eventually. And if she testifies against Alec Baldwin in regards to him just being not compliant or whining about not actually following her instruction or trying to blame everything on her, will she ever work again? What happens to her reputation? I mean, I understand why she just doesn't want to have anything to do with it. She's also a little annoyed that she's even in jail. She petitioned to get out of jail right away. She's got motions going on right now to let her out on bail while she's appealing the sentence. Okay. But she's in jail right now. Yeah, I agree, Liam. Her career is already in tatters, I agree, but, like, would you want the industry to come after you? Okay, because Alec Baldwin is part of the production company that put Rust out. Could they go after her for defamation of character? Could they go after her for anything? Like, I don't know. Like, I think it's just too much hassle for her to handle, you know? Yeah. I think she is exactly, Couch. I agree. I agree. And good evening, Mary. Hello. You know? Yep. No need to completely shred it. Exactly. It's already bad enough. Why would she want to work in his armor? I can't imagine. The PTSD alone would keep me from having anything to do with it. There are people that are in therapy right now in regards to what happened on that set. The people that were the medics have all civil suits against Ross in regards to not being able to work because of this, and a lot of civil cases are circulating around Rust because of all the violations on the set. It was deemed unsafe. There was, there were sanctions taken against them and reports put on them prior to the incident, which made this such this is why it is such a thing. When you say the Rust cases, like, it's such a big thing because, like, the whole thing was handled so horribly and there were violations everywhere. And it was just, it is a tragedy. The loss of life, a young woman, injuries that were done, people that are still feeling the ramifications of these incidents. But in regards to this case, this is about the fact that Alex Baldwin still to this day insists he didn't pull the trigger. He was holding the gun. He says he cocked it. He said he's not liable. He sleeps well at night. He never pulled the trigger. And why he is up for these charges in New Mexico after they had dropped him is because further testing by the FBI, and let me just change this over now back to back to Alex, as we're going to be talking about him. Um, his statement was that he never pulled the trigger, and he's sticking by that. Even though further testing of the gun, they literally had to hit that thing with a mallet over and over again to get it to fire. They said it was impossible for it to fire without pulling the trigger. That perhaps he misspoke and doesn't think he pulled the trigger, but there's no way the gun could have fired without him pulling the trigger. Now, the gun itself is the biggest evidence here, and this testing that led to the charges for them going forward to charge him again. And he's got a motion dismissed that's being considered right now. And some of it, there's some really good points in it. Here's the problem. In testing that gun to prove that it couldn't be fired, the gun was destroyed. Mhm. Now, that can be a problem. That can be a problem. Now, granted, they have all the testimony of all the experts, and it will be up to a jury to weigh that in on whether they can trust the way it was done. They're going to be able to actually review, like defense does. They can go over everything and how it was done and pick apart the process and pick apart the investigators and pick apart, the evidence the best that they can. But actually not having the gun is going to be an issue. Now, they did recreate the gun so they could do it again. And they've done their best to actually, do everything over and over again. But still, the motion to dismiss of them bringing up the charges again with what evidence? Still, they say that even though it was an accident, there's no way that Alec Baldwin, as an actor, is not responsible for whether there were bullets in that gun, for whether he pulled the trigger or not, or even though he insists he didn't, which is a big issue in the case. Okay. Um, you know, that's where we are with this. They're still going to go forward with trial unless this gets dismissed. Listen, in the hearing, our Judge Solner, clearly said, do not act like this isn't going forward. Conduct yourselves as if it still is. In other words, don't stop working on that July 10th trial date. I haven't decided on this motion to dismiss yet. That doesn't mean anything's stalled. We still have a trial date. Move forward accordingly. Like, so she's not like giving them any hint on which way she's going. Some people say that that means because she said that, that it's going forward anyway. I think it was Judas Purdy. I think it was prudent for her to say that because, like, she doesn't want anything delayed should she decide that it's going forward. Okay. I don't think it's really an indication either way, but I have seen some of the our YouTube lawyers have said that, you know, that kind of leans towards, like, you know, it ain't gonna fly. She's gonna go with the fact that it's not prejudicial to Alec Baldwin not to have that gun in its original condition. Um, hey Maggie, thanks for joining us. Liz, welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, let me just check the chat here to see what questions you have about this, because that's really where we are. And also, I would like to hear from you guys on whether you have interest in the Rush trial at all. I do not find Alec Baldwin presenting as a very likable defendant. I do have concerns of how a jury is going to feel about his conduct. But how much of that conduct is actually going to get into the trial? I am very interested, and I'll be, of course, we're going to be doing updates on it, and I'm going to be following it either way. Personally, I want to see what evidence actually gets in based on the fact that Hannah Gutierrez has already been convicted and it's the same charge. What's going to happen? Okay, but he's fighting really hard, and he has a big team of lawyers to try to get this dismissed. And they made it, and it's a good argument, you know. And Mark says, it's interesting, Claire. Here in Australia, if you are a witness in court, you are compelled to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. We don't have the right to stay silent. It's in our constitution, and that's what she's using. You know, her Fifth Amendment, her right not to say anything that could be used against her. And because she is appealing her charges and she doesn't want to be charged for anything additional by anybody else, she has the right to remain silent. And it is interesting because, you know, if she does take the stand, we do compel them to tell the truth, and you will go to jail if you don't. Okay. So, you know, you can get contempt of court, and that's up to the judge, and the judge gets to sentence you, and the judge gets to keep you there until you comply. Okay. She's duck soup if they force her to testify. Not that she isn't cooked already. Very clever, Juju. We'll put that in the cornball jokes of the day. I like it. I like it. I'm into corny today, people. You know, little man's got me thinking over here in the cornball section, and that's really conflicting with my legal side today, with my legal interest right now in trying to get this information out to you. You know. I think you're right in regards to Alex saying he didn't pull the trigger so much that he actually believes it. He literally says it like it's the absolute truth. He actually said after the tragedy that he sleeps well at night. He knows he did nothing wrong. And yet we saw behavior of his where he acted like a prima donna on that set. Let's not forget, like, everybody knows he wasn't just an actor. His defense right now, all of the things that he's putting forward are that he was just an actor. He doesn't have to do this. He doesn't have that. But, you know, he has some responsibility as the person who lays down the rules and the conditions and everything, because he was also a producer of the movie. He put money into it, and he has clout into it. He was Hannah's boss. He hired Hannah. Okay. He actually is the one who should be setting the example of following the rules. And yet he was the one that wouldn't even show up for the training and wouldn't even do, you know, follow her instructions based on what we heard in Hannah Gutierrez's trial. Whether that gets heard in his trial is another story. We'll have to see how that plays out. We'll have to see. Yeah, she said some things that were presented in her trial were wrong. She's under appeal, Mary Adams. I remember that. She's definitely, Hannah Gutierrez is appealing based on some things that were done in her trial. And she wants out on bail temporarily. based on how appeal process is, she could serve her whole sentence before that gets decided. But as far as I know, they have not let her out yet. Meaning that, mm, I it hasn't been decided. Exactly. Triggers do not pull themselves in. This is the problem. When the FBI testing came back, the prosecution really didn't have much of a choice, right? If they can say that he's saying one thing, but the evidence proves another, why? Well, then, why? So, like, he got charged. Yeah, it's not going to be dismissed. It's going to try. We don't know yet. She hasn't moved, but it could be. It could. Let me see. Yeah, exactly. Couch. Oh, and I'm assuming, and it's not correct to assume. You know what I say about that, but I'm thinking that perhaps you're gathering this statement. There are so many other things he did wrong without question of where his finger was. It's not an excuse, and we're gathering that from what we saw in the videos from the set that were presented in the Hannah Gutierrez trial. Am I correct? I mean, we saw him act terribly. We saw him flailing that gun around like nothing, like with no respect whatsoever. Too basic gun protocol, you know. In record, I agree. There's always a chance it will be dismissed. There are countless high-profile trials that have been dismissed or thrown out for ridiculous reasons, and yet, as ridiculous as it sounds to us, that just because the gun is not available in its original condition, I mean, it is up to the judge to decide if that is too prejudicial against Alec Baldwin, because what we have to do is have a fair trial. It is to be equal, presumed innocent. Even though we saw so much in Hannah Gutierrez's trial, I think the majority of us could be a little bit, could I say, a little bit biased towards his actions. I mean, he's not very likable right now based on his statements and what we've learned. But it is proper that he gets a fair trial. And that's what the judge is going to have to weigh out. Okay. Oh, it has been denied, Liz. When did that happen? Because I was looking today and I didn't see it yet. I know the first time around the first motion to dismiss was denied, but this second one in regards to the gun, I thought she still hadn't moved on it. I know, Liz, if you have the information, just share it with me because damn, I would like to see that. I do feel like bad for the armorer also because she was young and she is the daughter of a very famous, well-respected armorer. So she came into the job young, not that much experience, with a big chip on her shoulder and things to prove because dad's in the industry. People weren't listening to her. She wasn't very well liked either from the testimony that we heard. Everybody wanted to point the finger at her. But we actually heard video of her trying to do her job and people just walking away. Like that, to me, that was just like I felt for her, but I also think that her attitude didn't help. I do think she was careless. I do think that perhaps because of her father being in the industry so long, and this is just speculation, I understand. Like, don't get me wrong. I realize this is speculation. This is not in any court document, nor was it presented as any kind of evidence or even a theory during the trial. But I kind of feel like because of her growing up in the industry, being on the sets, she kind of handled it a little loosely based on what people really took seriously in regards to rules and regulations and what people didn't. Kind of like, standard operating procedure not being what's written down is what you should do, not the legal requirements of her position. Kind of like this is how it really is kind of attitude. This is what we really do kind of attitude. Oh, no, don't worry about that part. It's not that big deal. Kind of like the everybody does it kind of thing. Yeah. But I really, I feel that someone's life was lost, and a lot of respect has to be put there. And it's Alex Baldwin's disregard of it that, like, I don't have anything to do with it. I mean, somebody died on your set, even as a producer, there's a thing. And their actions prove otherwise. The Rust producers have settled with the family immediately. They made him a producer of the show. They made him he's going to that film gets released and makes money. The son, her child, will benefit from that for years to come. It's going to be put away for when he's 18 and 21. They have made large settlements, guaranteed amounts of money. They made him, I think it was kind of shady to make him part of the project so they could still put it out. It's almost like with him being part of it, it's like we can't all say how disgusting it is that they went forward after somebody died like that. Um, and that's just my opinion. To me, it just seems like, it's very clever, and I understand where you're coming from, but damn, does that look bad to me. They just like, way to show your ass, Hollywood. Like, way to show what you're really concerned about. But I get it. I mean, I don't want to be too harsh about it. It's just was my first response. Mark says, I think he should have admitted from the start that he did pull the trigger, but he had every confidence that the gun was loaded with blanks as it should have been. Exactly. Or how about a little more remorse, in regards to what happened? That just might be Alec Baldwin's way. We've seen Alec Baldwin in the media before, and he's not been a very popular person in regards to presence and attitude. So, I mean, come on, he's not that likable. But I don't want to judge him in a lawsuit because of it, you know? Yeah. Mary, I've often, that was talked about a lot during Hannah's trial, that they think someone said Hannah definitely feels like she was the fall guy. But when it comes down to it, it was the armorer's responsibility. So she can't really say she was like set up. There was a lot going on. She got charges pressed on her based on what happened. And she is the final line and responsible, regardless of how those bullets got into the gun. It was her responsibility to double check it, and the people under her. And she needed to have policies that guaranteed that. There's like 3 or 4 people that could have actually seen those as bullets. People actually looked into the chamber and didn't really pay that much attention. Okay. I love the discussion going back and forth. I really do. You know what? This is a good point, Wrecker. He may not feel he's lying because he doesn't feel he pulled it all the way, but could he have had, because he says his finger was there, could he have pressed it enough that it did? Oh, but the FBI is saying no. They literally, it could not go off without a full pull. Like that soon. As soon as he pulled that hammer back, yeah. Um, it's the FBI testing. We're going to learn more about that testing during the trial, if there is a trial in July. Okay. Exactly, Rocket. That's where I was coming up. If the movie makes money, deal means nothing to me. Hollywood accounting is a scummy thing. Exactly. It's all about optics. It's all about them being able to make more movies in the future, and those producers not ruining their reputations. I get it. I think it was something business wise that they put forth, and I think that, don't get me wrong, I don't think that her husband did anything wrong by accepting that deal. He's looking to guarantee the future of his child, like to make sure his child gets some benefit from his wife's career, as she would want. Okay, she would want him taken care of, and she was working on that film, and I think that he's dealing with a loss, and that he made the best decision that he could. And I don't think he was worried about optics. I don't think anything like that. I think it was like, I don't want to have to sue people to do the right thing. Right now, there's also a lawsuit with the medic that took care of Hyla and the stress of treating Joel Souza in Hyla in the conditions that it was on. Or she's claiming PTSD. She's claiming violations of procedure, not being having immediate access, not having cooperation. She's saying they made it all so much difficult, and that it was one of the most horrific things she'd ever been through. There are a lot of lawsuits. There's an organization of the laborers. Remember, a huge amount of people walked off the set prior to this incident based on the violations and unsafe practices that were happening. They said that there were unsafe conditions on the set. Okay. New Mexico itself is charging both Hannah and Alec Baldwin based on their own statutes that this whole production company violated. Okay. They got a good case because there were violations here. All right. Um, it's like the law, just like it was like the laws for everybody else. You're like, we don't have to pay attention to it unless you find out about it, kind of thing. Now, I'm not saying they purposely say that or do that. It's just what it looks like. Like they did not all follow these rules that are all there. In Alec's defense, he keeps saying that these are the SAG rules for an actor. I don't need to know. It's up to the armorer and everybody else. It's not up to me. I'm just the actor. But I don't know how that's going to fly with a jury when prosecution can prove that Alec Baldwin was not just an actor in regards to the Rust set. He was an authority figure on set at all times. Can you guys see what I'm saying? He was a producer. If he was just an actor, Hannah Gutierrez would have authority over him and be able to tell him what to do, and he would do it. Hannah Gutierrez told him repeatedly what to do, and he did whatever he wanted instead. He literally went against directors, went against the camera, but everybody who was directing him as an actor, he didn't do it. He did what he wanted. We saw that in the videos. You know what I mean? So it's going to be an interesting case, Exactly, Liam. He wasn't just an actor. He was an authority figure on that set. And that has some responsibility. Mark says, I guess you don't get to be as big a star as him without being something of a narcissist and believing everything you do is right and that you have the right to do whatever you want. I would say that the system does support that for him. Like once you do get to be big, of course, nobody tells you you're wrong anymore. They're all kissing your butt. You're the best thing since white bread, right? I'm just saying that I don't know so much about a narcissist. I think all actors, or even all of us YouTubers and all of us out here that want to talk, there's a bit of a narcissistic tendency there, to do it. I'm sure you have to be an actor to think that, you're believable or that you're good. And I'm pretty sure that Alec believes it. He doesn't have a likable demeanor, not to me. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't find him likable. Most of the stuff that comes out of his mouth pisses me off. I find him to be entitled and arrogant and non-empathetic. I mean, he was making vacation plans while doing the interview with the police. He took phone calls on and off from everybody while the police were on set immediately after the tragedy. While they were there, she's being treated, getting the body removed. Joel's getting treated. Joel Souza, who is the director, who also, was injured. And then we have the assistant director who actually faced charges and pled guilty and served his time and went to his safety classes like required and all of that. I don't see the big deal here. This is 18 months, which I don't believe that Alec Baldwin would be sent to jail if he actually would just make a deal with the prosecution in regards to, we violated your law, a tragedy happened, I'm sorry, and just pay the fine, get your sentence commuted to like whatever, the community service or whatever, pay your fines, go to the re-education classes on how to conduct yourself with a gun in New Mexico, re-educate yourself as a producer on the laws in New Mexico if you ever want to film there again. And what's the big deal? I think as an actor, he's good, Mark. I agree. But as a person, he really has a tendency to annoy me. I just don't know why. He doesn't seem likable to me. I think he did too, Maggie. I think he drove everybody crazy. You know, I think it was hard. But anyway, that's where we are with him. We will see if there will be a trial in July. We're waiting for the second. This is his second motion to dismiss. I think perhaps the headlines that Liz was talking about was the first motion to dismiss was flat out denied. Okay, and that was based on, they were talking about, well, you tried to charge me before and the evidence hasn't really changed and blah, 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 all of that. Like, they actually tried to pull prosecution abuse, that because he was the actor and famous, that they were only trying to make a name for themselves by going after him, and that it was some type of prosecutorial abuse and harassment, and that just didn't fly. That did not fly at all with them. Well, it seems like a lot of you agree with me. He's just not he's not that likable out there, and I wonder how that's going to play in court with the jury. But he is an actor. Hopefully he puts that acting on and he puts a huge smile on, or at least a face of concern about the proceedings, instead of like, I just don't want to be here and this is a waste of my time, like some other defendants I'm watching right now, which are completely unlikable to me. I just can't even feel sympathy for them because of how they are acting. The fact that both Hannah and Alec consider themselves victims in this situation is terrible. And as somebody looking from the outside, I absolutely agree, Juju. They seem very self-serving, and they seem to forget that somebody died, and a child lost a mother, and a husband lost a wife, and parents lost a daughter, and people lost a friend, co-workers lost a valuable person in the industry that they respected very much. A young woman lost her life, and others were injured, and others were traumatically affected by the whole thing, because live ammunition is never supposed, it's not something that is supposed to happen ever. And it did. I think it was prosecution abuse that I said, Mark. If I misspoke, I apologize, but that's funny. It's funny. Yeah, families have been altered forever, Mrs. Cassandra. You're right. People's lives changed forever. In some respect needs to be given there. I understand that they feel that nobody cares about them. Everybody just, but and they have to protect themselves. But I think a little empathy and a little regard would go a long way. And I hope, I hope Alec learned from watching Hannah Gutierrez's trial that sitting there like it was a bother and it shouldn't be happening did not go well for Hannah, because the jury is there looking at you the whole time. And I don't think Hannah's attitude helped her in the least. Unfortunately, I understand where she's coming from, but she only got 18 months. Yep. Yeah, Liz, I agree. But she's appealing it because this can affect her career. Being guilty of it means that everything they say about her not following the rules and regulations is true. They did show some evidence that she tried. They did show evidence of her speaking with Alec Baldwin and putting out and phone calls that were made, scheduling of appointments that were made that he didn't keep, things like that. But that's not going to help now that the guilty verdict has been laid down. It just looks like, hey, you were guilty of it, and it'll be used against her. I don't even know if she still wants that career. It seems like it was given to her based on her association with her father. I don't know if it's something she actually loves to do or wants to do. It's something that's in her family and she's been familiar with her whole life. So, but you're right. Show some empathy. Just, sit still. But it's her right to appeal. And if that's where she wants to put her money, let her. If she feels some injustice was done, let her try. It's her time to waste. I don't believe she'll be hired again either. I would never hire her. But let me just say this: Hollywood's a crazy place. A crazy place. Weirder things have happened. You know, um, they turn a blind eye where they want to. They ignore what they want to, and there's always another reason for everything that they do. Like it, I would never try to figure it out. I cannot understand how they function. I really can't. But on that, if there's no more questions, I think we should go on to Ashley Guillard in Rebecca Scofield. Um, I'm going to try to finish in an hour and a half today. So that's Alec Baldwin, New Mexico in the Rust case is 45 minutes. What do you say, guys? Like, well, actually less because I was talking before, but you know. Yeah. Any other questions? Like I do believe that it's my personal opinion based on what I saw in the motion to dismiss that the judge is going to let this trial go forward. I think there's enough evidence to leave this issue of the gun up to a jury's discretion. And I think that's where the judge is going to land. We'll see. Because it would have to be duly prejudicial for her to go the other way and dismiss the whole case based on the gun not being available. Okay. Well, Mark, money does go a long way in Hollywood because that is what it is all about, isn't it? Isn't that what it is all about there? All right. So let me get ready for Guillard. All right. We are familiar. These are the two young people we'll be talking about. On the left, we have Rebecca Scofield, a professor at Idaho State University. On the right, we have a TikTok psychic by the name of Ashley Guillard. This lawsuit started after Brian Kohlberger was charged for the murders of the Idaho Four, a tragedy in Idaho, into which Ashley Guillard started to make TikTok videos that, based on tarot readings from her spirit guides, Rebecca Scofield was indicated by the spirit guides as to conspiring to commit these murders, as organizing them. She went so far to say things like she had an affair with one of them, and this whole thing was meant to cover it all up, and that the truth was going to come out. And that she's not lying. Okay, a little bit of history. Rebecca Scofield was horrified. She contacted the authorities to find out if she was under investigation. She was cleared by the authorities. They actually made a statement about it. Okay. Rebecca Scofield issued cease and desist to the TikTok psychic Ashley Guillard, asking her to cease and desist, that none of this was true and that she should not go forward with any of this. Whereas Ashley did TikTok videos with those C&Ds saying she would use them as toilet paper, and she continued to defame her. And I'm going to say defame her because there has been a motion on that has been ordered by the judge, that the statements that Ashley Guillard are now to be considered as defamatory. And his actual motion was quite long because in Idaho, there's a little discrepancy in the civil suits for defamation in regards to whose responsibility it is to prove whether the statements are false or not. Now, we all say common sense. We know that they're false because we know that somebody else was charged. Ashley Guillard did not prove that they were true at all. She didn't prove anywhere that they were true except for these statements. She repeatedly stated that her spiritual guides do not lie and that the truth would eventually come out, and that there's nothing that they can prove to say that what she's saying isn't true. And that is where the judge drew the line, because the judge then is saying, in his very long and very eloquent and with a lot of legalese in there, because he goes through back and forth on who proved what. And he said that in the end, it's the plaintiff's responsibility to prove that those statements aren't true so that there's actually a defamation case, that it happened. And he says that Rebecca Scofield did prove it when she proved that Ashley went forward with full knowledge that she wasn't under investigation and that she had been cleared. okay, that Ashley Guillard continued after she petitioned the college to get any and all of her phone messages and was told by the college none exist that were deleted between her and any student, that there was no record of any of those students being in any of her classes or her being associated with any single one of them, contrary to the numerous statements that Ashley Guillard made. Rebecca Scofield did enough of a good job in her filing with her attorneys to prove that the statements were defamatory and that Ashley Guillard knew that because there was plenty of information out there. I mean, the police department, the investigative team put out a statement clearing her, saying that she is not a suspect. She wasn't even around at the time of the murders. Although Ashley cleverly changed some of her story to say that she organized it all and she had paid somebody else to do it and take care of it for her because she was jealous of something that happened because she was having an affair with one of the students. So she questioned her sexuality. She called her an adulterer. Rebecca Scofield is married. Okay. And Juju says she 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 misinterpreted when she pulled the justice card. Yes, she did. Because long story short, and I'm going to give you links in the description later and in the chat now. First of all, let me give you the judge's ruling. Oops, give your response. Scofield complaint. Oh, where is the judge's orders? Oh, now I gotta pull it again. Because I got so excited today when I got this other document filed up here today because Ashley Guillard, to make a long story short, has responded on June 24th with a per se filing like I've never seen before. And I can't say that it's not got some substance to it, shockingly. And I don't say that snarkily. I didn't expect, based on her other filings, for this to be as put together as it was. Her other filings were a little scattered. She kept saying, yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I did it. And I have every right to do it because my spirit guides don't lie. And you just don't understand tarot and you just don't understand the otherworldly world. And, you know, that kind of a defense doesn't work in legal. You actually have to work within the system to explain yourself. And her just saying, because I speak a different language, you can't charge me or it's not defamatory. Okay. Because the rules of defamation are in freedom of speech, you're allowed to say whatever you want, but not without consequence. If you, with intent and with full knowledge that there's contrary information, and this is what's being held against Ashley Guillard, there is contrary information to what she's saying. As a matter of fact, there's more information to say it's not true than there is to say it's true. The only thing that says that it's true to Ashley Guillard is these spirit guides that are talking to no one but her. No one else is coming forward and saying, hey, they told me too. Like, here's what they said. Here's the evidence to prove it. She has not proven one single fact at all. She tried to prove that Rebecca Scofield was in the area, and she wasn't. She continued. And you know what? Here's the thing. She did it on TikTok. And did she do it for monetary compensation? Did she do it for sensationalism? She's not. She says she's championing the right to justice and that Rebecca Scofield is a criminal and that it's up to her to make sure that she's prosecuted, that she's the only one that knows the truth, and that Rebecca Schofield's going to get away with it if she doesn't say something. Yeah, she did it for justice. Yes, that's what she's saying. And although, of course, everybody has a right to say all of that, you don't get to ruin somebody's career and reputation and make them a focus of the public in a crime of this horrific crime of this nature. Can you imagine what Rebecca Schofield's life was like while these TikTok videos were going around in Idaho? I mean, come on. Like, although Ashley Guillard is coming from a point of freedom of speech, and that is in one of her motions, and I understand that she feels the right to believe what she wants to believe. And I have no problem with her believing in the spirit world. I don't. She's allowed to believe whatever she wants. I don't have any problem with her believing that they spoke to her. I don't have any problem with her believing that they're telling her the truth. I don't have any problem with her using tarot reading cards on TikTok. My problem is she used all that to make money to ruin another person with not a single scrap of evidence. Because as far as I'm concerned, false accusations are up, or when you make an accusation against somebody, it is your responsibility to prove it. It is not the person that you're talking or accusing's job to disclaim it and prove it. You are guilty at the start if you just say it and drop it and run away. Okay? It's unfounded until you substantiate it. I mean, am I wrong here? Like, am I going down the wrong path? Please tell me. I don't want to lose you guys. Like, I don't want to piss anybody off. But, Ashley's right to defend herself is it's an American right. She can do it. Okay. This judge was kind enough to extend filing dates for her, to give her the courtesy, knowing she wasn't a lawyer. He went above and beyond. He did. Rebecca Scofield did what she could. She filed for summary judgment repeatedly because Ashley Guillard kept missing filing dates or wouldn't respond. As a matter of fact, she had to be compelled to respond to the judge, to the freaking charges of defamation in the first place. She almost got summary judgment because she wouldn't even respond to the case. She ignored it, like the C&Ds. She wasn't going to respond at all until the judge put out a warning that said, I will do summary judgment. I'm going to give you more time, but you need to respond. I don't think you understand what's going on here. It is the law that I can just give her summary judgment if you don't even bother to show up. That's what happens. If there's enough evidence there that you did what you did, summary judgment can go through and a jury can decide how much you will owe. And it was that threat that actually, well, not threat, but that patiently and judicially informed information to Ashley Guillard that made her come forward and start her filings, okay? And she had to start filing back. All right. There is I was looking, I remember I got off track because I was looking for the actual filing for you, because I think it's important that you read what the judge wrote. Because for me, those of you that like the legal, and I know not everyone's into it, okay, but those of you that like to read the legal briefs, this one went into, in Idaho, which I found really interesting, in Idaho state law, about whose responsibility in a civil defamation case it is to actually prove if the statement is true or not, and how far that has to go. This judge did finally declare, and afterwards, to make a long story short, that summary judgment could finally be put on Ashley Guillard, because her statements themselves and her doubling down on them during the question and answering period in the interrogatories that she was answering in deposition and etc., where she said, yep, that's what they said, I'm sticking to it. And she continued on and on with the same statements, backing it up that she's done nothing wrong. that this is her privilege to say so because her spirit guides, and I quote, do not lie. You cannot prove my spirit guards are lying. My spirit guides, not guards, guides are not lying. Okay. It was crazy. But the judge took a long time going off on this. Remember, they started this in January as far as whether or not summary judgment would go. And in April, they had a hearing. Okay. And in April, both Ashley Guillard and Rebecca Scofield and her team, everybody was heard. Everybody presented their side as to why summary judgment should not be given. Ashley Guillard again doubled down about the statements being true. And the judge took, at the end of that hearing, the final words are that the judge was taking everything under consideration. In the end, the judge decided summary judgment goes to Rebecca Scofield, and that the jury could decide on the damages. He decided that she proved the statements were false in regards to, like I said, the law enforcement coming forward saying she wasn't even considered and that she had been cleared, even though that she was not in the state at the time, that the university confirming that she had no relations with any of the students. They weren't in any of their classes. There's no evidence that she even knows any of them anywhere. Okay, and she proved that with like her school registration stuff, the statement from the college. Ashley Guillard actually helped her prove it by filing a motion filing a subpoena to the college, to the university rather, that asking for specifically all correspondence between the professor and these four individuals, and none of it exists. And they actually put in there that there were no deleted messages either, because Ashley actually said, give me the deleted messages that my spirit guides say exist. And they were like, there are none because there's no correspondence at all and nothing's been deleted. And they put that in writing back to her. And that was also used to defend that nothing exists, that she's making this accusation without any backup at all. I am trying to find the judge's order for, here it is. No. I want to give you this judge's decision. Oh, got it. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Sometimes I label things so short, I'm not sure it's exactly what it is. And this actually just said decision. And so I was like, whoop, that can't possibly be it, but it was. All right. For those of you that like to read it, here is the Google link to the judge's decision. It is 22 pages. It does go into a lot of legal differences in Idaho law, okay? But plaintiff also asked, and the plaintiff being Rebecca Scofield, in her motion months ago, that she take leave to amend the complaint to add punitive damages, which are for emotional distress and stuff. In other words, when you get regular or partial summary judgment, it's usually for the amount of money or what it cost you, legal costs and fees, whether you lost positions at your job. Rebecca Scofield has a problem here that I'm going to bring forward again because when Ashley filed back, like since this summary judgment, okay, it's a partial summary judgment because it's only for regular damages, court fees, this, that, and the other thing. And Ashley did something right away. She actually filed for the court to it be removed from magistrate court, which is where it is right now with the summary judgment group, for everything to be vacated and for it to be moved back to district court. Because in district court, she can file another fee, another filing that would make her indigent, which means that no matter what the summary judgment comes through, knowing that she is pro se, filing the court fees herself, but does not have the money for any judgment, that actual judgments can be waived in the end, which is very clever. She seems to have researched the law very well, and that is like a standard thing she could do. She did it immediately once this order came forward. I mean, this order came forward on June 6th, and it appeared in the filings, and I think by the 14th she had filed an appeal in Texas against the ruling itself, and she had also asked for it to be moved back down to district court so that they could go forth on whether or not she could get the status of not having to pay for the judgment. In other words, the judgment would get awarded and she would lose the case, but she wouldn't be financially responsible for it. And that is something that prisoners can use, and also in civil causes when you are paying the fees yourself, but you've got to acknowledge, you've got to let the court know your financial settings ahead of time, and so they can go forward with anything with jurisprudence, like the judicial prudence, to know like whether or not you're going to pay for it. It doesn't mean that you're not guilty of what you did, okay? But we're going to see how that goes. All right. Now, I told you that she filed back. Okay, first of all, the plaintiff, Rebecca Scofield, also has filed her amended complaint for punitive damages. Okay, and that also, I'm going to give you a link. This is Rebecca Scofield's answer for why she should get punitive damages, which allows her to let the jury put a figure on her emotional distress and what this actually did to her life, without having to prove dollar for dollar and cent for cent what that value should be. In other words, I lost a job. We saw this in the Johnny Depp case. He had to prove that he lost contracts. He had to prove more than a certain amount of loss. Now, this becomes important, okay, because Rebecca Scofield wasn't fired. She may have lost time at work, but she probably was compensated anyway based on duress and everything. She probably had coverage for taking some time off based on what was happening. Her job was not in jeopardy. She would have to prove, like, say she wasn't able to attend a conference where she was going to get paid $10,000, and she would have to say that she had to move. I mean, in one of the Scientology cases that I was following with Bixler, when they actually had to move based on harassment, they had to put in security systems and stuff, and they used all that monetarily when they're talking about defamation and they're talking about harassment and all. And they're using all of these figures as to what it cost you monetarily for the duress you put them under doing this, for your false altercations, what it actually costs literally in dollars and cents, and how you actually calculate that. That's a whole nother process and a whole bunch of filings and a whole bunch of hoops you have to jump through. Now, in the state of Idaho, to prove a defamation case for damages, you had to have like $75,000 of damages for, to go forward. And I am pulling that figure right from Ashley Guillard's motion to have the partial summary judgment vacated, dismissed, based on the standing of there's not enough money there. The statements are true. You haven't proved that they're false. Yes, she's still saying that again. She's still saying it. She's saying, I have a First Amendment right to talk about my spirit guides, and you don't get to call them liars. And even though she's also saying in her filing back against Rebecca Scofield, in the judge, trying to get the whole thing dismissed and thrown out, and she wants it all relooked at again in district court, because she says, number one, they don't have jurisdiction because there wasn't 75,000. Even though she agreed to venue and jurisdiction in the beginning, if she didn't understand, that what they were agreeing to, they agreed to magistrate. Okay, it was standard procedure, and they all agreed, and it went forward. And she filed motions, which means you're in agreement with it. Like once you start filing the motions for everything to go forward, it's kind of hard to go back later and say no, it shouldn't have been there from the start. Like it's pretty high mountain to climb at the end of an order against you to say you don't have jurisdiction to file that order. That's something that should have been done way in the beginning. Now, I understand that as a layperson, that she may not have understood that at the time, but this judge was so patient. He really did give her plenty of time and tried to advise her the best that he could to get the advice of a lawyer and to go forward. Um, it's interesting to me because some of the points that she brings up are, shall I say, clever. Clever is the word I would use. Okay. Um, we know who's charged with the murder, right? How do you go forward knowing that there is a man on trial and still say somebody else is responsible without a slick of evidence? No evidence whatsoever. None whatsoever. Okay. And she hasn't proved it in any of the filings. Okay. But this filing that I'm going to give you now, if you read anything, this one is 31 pages. It can be frustrating because there's a little bit of nonsense in here. I will admit she gets a little full of herself, but it does appear that she's researched well. I would say she's trying to advocate for herself in the best possible ability. Do I think it's a little bit too late? Probably. Although the law allows her to file this motion, and it could get granted to go to district court, and we could start the whole process all over again. We'll see. I don't think the partial judgment will get dismissed, but I do think that it'll get reviewed to make sure that everything was like, and I think that they will see that she was given additional time and that this kind of a filing should have happened well before, and it will probably, based on timing and not following procedure, get tossed. Okay. Well, her thing saying that they lack jurisdiction, is based on the fact that she did not have any damages over 75,000. But and that is the nuts and bolts of what do you put. When they say that the order granting summary, she says in there that the order that the judge did for summary judgment has false statements of facts, meaning that Ashley Guillard decision, she specifically stated she did not agree that the statements she made about Scofield are defamatory, even if the court found them to be false. So she's saying that regardless of what the court said, I'm saying they're true. And so therefore, the court saying that they have found them to be factually false and that Rebecca Scofield has proven her case by saying that by proving that they're factually false, which means that the defamation exists. Basically, Ashley's saying to the judge, you can't say that because I don't agree. She waited until the motion hearing of April 4th, 16th to say verbally to the judge, I don't agree that they're defamatory. I still say they're true. But she could not prove any of it. Okay. She said that the court made a critical error and lied due to an inability to be impartial. She's accusing the judge of lying and being impartial by saying that these statements are not statements of fact, that they are false, because Ashley Guillard says they're true. Help me, people. Just help me. You can't fight it, right? Juju, I cannot fight the logic of you're lying on me, people. You cannot find me guilty of defamation because I think they're true. Okay. Like, at this point, I'm wondering, and this here's where the snark. You wanted a little bit of, like, cray cray. So here it is. Wouldn't it be something if the district of court does accept the case and the first thing they do is ask Ashley Guillard to go in for a mental competency exam to see if she even can defend herself, or if she's actually costing the court a lot of money on nonsense? I mean, really. Mm, this is getting crazy. She's not another Sarah. And by the way, Sarah for me doesn't have the first name Sarah anymore. It's Boo Boo Boone. I can't get it out of my head. I cannot. For days now, I've been going, oh, Boo Boo, what did you do? What did you do? Oh, Boo Boo. I read that 58-page letter and you heard me. All I could say is, oh, Boo Boo, don't do this to yourself. But Boo Boo Boone. Yeah, we're going to talk about that Tuesday. Oh my God. Oh my God. But anyway, you need to read defendant's motion to alter or amend the judgment, basically picking apart everything that the judge did. You guys just give it a whirl. The first part is just the complaint, and then afterwards she gives you the filing of a memorandum in support of defendant's motion to alter or amend. In other words, she goes through all the details of what they got wrong, and it's a little too late. Okay, it is. And apparently she was really, really pissed after that hearing. I don't think she felt like she was heard. You know, she said that the defamatory statements were made against her by Patricia Olson, who is Professor Scofield's attorney, because they said that these were false allegations. The defamatory statements falsely stated that Ashley Guillard, and I quote, is a TikTok user who falsely accused Professor Scofield of the murder of the 4 University Idaho students to use the tragedy and the community's pain to gain a following, that Ashley Guillard is a liar who selfishly made false statements about horrific tragedies, knowing they are false for a profit, and that Guillard made false statements knowing they are false. Ashley Guillard has a problem with that statement. She says she's not lying. Her spirit guides don't lie. Okay. She said that even though she published all of this, they are making defamatory statements to the news, to media, to print it online, to put it and broadcast it, and ruined her reputation. In other words, this is just me as a layperson speaking. This isn't legal. Ashley Guillard is saying, I did what I did, but that's not the reason I'm in the crap that I'm in. It's because you talked about it. It's because you had exception. You took exception to what I said about you, and you told somebody else it wasn't true, and that went out on the media, and now I got a backlash, and I lost followers, and I was ridiculed, and people made videos on me, and damn, that's just not fair. Juju, was that cray enough for you? Because that's basically what Ashley is saying. Now, does she have a point? You should not defame. I don't like the use of the word liar. I would say that she did purposely go forward and make statements that she could not substantiate for profit. It is obvious if you're on TikTok doing these videos day after day after day after day. And yes, she amped it up, even after served, even in the middle of the lawsuit. She amped it up. She doubled down, and she made her money. And you know what the odd thing is her own followers were telling her to stop. We're worried about you. This is not going to go in your favor. Legally, this is not something you can do and win. They were saying, hey, we support you. We believe in your spirit guides. It could all be true. But legally, you can't win this. Like, stop. You're hurting yourself. Repeatedly, over and over again. I saw messages like that all over that. They were begging her to stop. Ashley doubled down. The more they told her, the more she thought she was doing the right thing. She said her spirit guides told her to go forward. Her spirit guides told her it would all be fine. They would all be fine. But her spirit guides didn't write this 33-page answer. This is all somebody just finally buckling down, trying to find a way to justify to do what they did, and now is pulling First Amendment privilege as her right to say whatever she wants. And Rebecca Scofield just has to deal with it, even though she doesn't have to deal with the fact that she was called out for what she did. Okay, like pot, kettle. Get what I'm saying? Like I know y'all hear me. I know y'all hear me. Like the ridiculousness. Yeah, it's a little crazy, but but read it. It is it is amazing. Okay, it is amazing. All right. I'm not gonna read it out loud. Um, I can't. I mean, after doing Boone on Tuesday, you guys will give me a pass, right? We will discuss it again. Okay, we will, because I can't wait to see what happens with district, whether it gets taken over, um, whether district takes over for the magistrate court, because that's proper procedure in a civil suit with an appeal going on like that. But if you'll notice, she filed a motion to amend with the court and to move it to district and have them look at her motion to amend. It's not filed like an appeal of judgment, and we still do have to go to trial for a jury to decide what those damages should be. And the judge still has to decide, if he still has the case in magistrate, he has to decide whether or not Scofield has met the burden of punitive damages and whether that can go to the jury at the same time. We don't have a trial date. We have more hearing dates coming up. There are limitations put down on when these filings will go through. In all honesty, Ashley's filing just happened on the 24th. I don't think the judge has been able to, if he has been able to read it and digest it, have done anything about it. And I'm not sure and need to do a little more research on it. And I'll be honest, I wasn't finding a lot yet, but I'm still on it in regards to whether that's a standard thing for it to automatically go to district and it's a done deal. Like that's where it is. She gets a new judge and period. But whether or not the partial summary judgment stands as it is. I mean, but she's already filed to probably move it so that she could get the understanding that no matter what happens going forward, she could have the blanket coverage of not to get blood from a stone. Like they can only go so far to collect on her assets and stuff. But here's the thing, she made her money. If she spent it and used it, I'm sorry, but if they can prove the money that she made, they will be entitled to that money. They can use that as to prove that she did make a profit on it. Okay, but it is also true that she lost a lot of standing on TikTok, and she lost a lot of followers. I mean, it went up and then it went like really down as it got crazy. And that's all true. But legally, besides the aspect of it being, using the spirit guides in TikTok, besides the tarot aspect of it and where she's getting the information, the fact that she's defending herself, and I really feel for her, because like some of her arguments, I can understand where she's coming from, and it's obvious she's done some research. It's the timing of things. Like you can't wait months and months and months and not have respect for the court and follow the timing. And there seems to be a little lack of knowledge into the procedure end of things, thinking that things are on her time frame instead of the court's. Oh, listen, when it comes to the legal system, the court's time frame, that's the one you have to deal with. It doesn't matter who you are. It does not matter whether you're representing yourself, whether you're Alec Baldwin with 20 attorneys or you're Ashley Guillard with just yourself. That timeline is that timeline unless you talk with the judge about extending it or file a motion and give good cause as to why. But just ignoring it doesn't matter. Okay? They don't care about that. That's disrespect to the court, and it's going to go against you. This judge that did finally move for partial summary judgment for Scofield was more than patient. We saw it over and over, giving her more time, even though she didn't ask for it. Like this isn't good for you. I don't think take some time, go talk to somebody, because you have to file on this or this is what's going to happen. He really did try to give her the best opportunity to get the fairest shake that she could. This whole thing must seem, as a professional, I would imagine everybody looking at it just thinks it's absolutely wild, absolutely wild. But now I'm gonna have some fun and go to the chat rather, the chart, the chart, meaning the chat that will actually give me the meter on how entertaining you actually thought that lawsuit, how entertaining you actually think that lawsuit is. Okay. Hmm. Oh, so hey, look at the trees. Welcome. I did not see you come in. I'm so sorry. My spirit. This is the first comment I see. My spirit airplane crashed in the mountains and I was forced to eat my spirit guide. Oh gosh, I hope the other spirit guides aren't going to sue you for it. Look at the trees. But I do look forward to seeing what kind of legal precedent that would set. That should happen. Oh my God. All right. Let's go. Let's see. Oh. I am so glad you're still here though after that happened. Though look at the trees. I agree with Liam. Thank you. I also agree that Juju has layers. And I'm not going to go back in the chat and look, but let me just say, can I just put a best guess in there that she's talking about onions? Because man, does that woman love onions. Okay. I'm just saying something about onions happened in my chat. I don't need to know anything else about it. That's all I need. Yeah. Mary, you haven't been following Ashley Guillard in the Scofield Guillard case. She is a TikTok psychic who accused an Idaho professor of being the murderer in the Idaho 4 case in Moscow, like the one that Brian Kohlberger is on charges for. She said she did it, not Brian, in that her spirit guides told her it was going to be a whole big cover up, and that she had an affair with one of the students, a lesbian affair, and that she was jealous of the other student, and that's why she organized and paid for the murder of these 4 students. She accused her of murder, and to this day she still says it's true. To today, actually in June 24th, in that filing that I put in the chat, she is still saying that Scofield is the guilty one, and she did it. Yep. Manipulation in fairy tales is what I would say rather than clever. Please read it, Liam, and then tell me like if you changed your mind at all. If you don't think a couple of them, I would say the bulk of it is malarkey and just like hurt fifis, okay? But there are 2 things there, and just give me a little grace here. If you do read it, see, I want to know if you see the 2 things that I see that might interest the judge or the other court, the district court, into giving her another look see. I just, hmm. And thank you for answering Mary in the chat, Liam. That was pretty concise. He said that she was a TikTok reader who inserted themselves into the Moscow murder case and accused a totally innocent woman of involvement. And I would only add to that for profit. Okay. Because that's why this case is a defamation case. This woman was making money of it. They have to show intent, and they have to show that she knew it was false. She could have the information. She, just because she doesn't believe that it's false doesn't mean the information to prove that the accusations are false was not out there and available to her. And that's the problem. Like, she doesn't seem to recognize that if the information was there that proves that what she's saying isn't true, and she's not acknowledging it, it doesn't matter that she says, I don't care what you say, I still believe it. It doesn't matter what Ashley Guillard believes. You don't get to just talk about something because that's what you believe. If it causes harm to another, you can be sued for it. You're allowed to talk about it. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't mean you won't have consequences. These are Ashley Guillard's consequences. They're saying it's substantially not true, and it can be proven it's not true, and therefore it's defamatory. That's the definition of defamatory. You don't mind her logic? I mean, she's entertaining me with it. I'll say that. I will say, Juju, she's definitely entertaining me with this logic. Yes, it's against my religious convictions to be wrong, so you must be wrong or in cahoots with Satan. Yes, people say that all the time, but they don't call me Satan. I bet after you have a conversation with her, you scream into a pillow. I don't want to. You know what? If you watched, remember she did the interview with Swamp Rose, and I do believe I gave you guys the link to that in a prior in a prior segment covering this case. She presented herself as quite intelligent and reasonable, and a little put out about like all of the hype about this, and she presented it as if she doesn't understand why everybody's coming on her, and did a really good job of presenting her case on what it was doing to her, how people were turning against her, and how now everybody's making videos about her. But like, she was on TikTok. It's not like she doesn't understand that if you're on a platform and you make these statements that people are going to pick up on it and do stuff. Everybody has a right to do that. And she didn't really say we didn't have a right, but she did threaten to sue every single YouTuber that's covered her. I'm waiting for my paperwork. I guess I'm just not relevant enough, you know. But she did say after her countersuit against Rebecca Scofield in her attorneys was dismissed by the court, because they said that basically her countersuit only said that they were responding to things that you said, and you are admitting that you said them and you did them. So where's the defamation? Defamation would mean you didn't do it, but you did do those videos. You did say she tried to kill somebody, that she ordered to kill. You are admitting in this court, in your filings, that yes, that happened. So how can you sue them for saying that that's what you did? Well, she took exception to the language they used to say it. She took exception to the fact that people thought she did it for profit. She did make money doing it, although she thinks she did not make enough, and she said that repeatedly in her interview, in her segment over on Swamp Rose's channel. She did say that, people think I made so much money, but like after expenses and after this, I have a right to live. I have a right to make money. It's really not that much. Like, she made it like it was no big deal. But the fact that she did do it on a platform that was monetized is a big deal. It doesn't look good. Okay. And so they can use the word for profit because she did make money, and they can say liar, although it's not a good word, because she can't prove the statements. And when you keep saying something that you can't prove is true, so people are going to say that about you. They're going to say you're lying, or you're putting back, and all. They should say it in a better way. I wish that they had used better language, being a professional, the attorney. But I understand why the law professor is like saying things a certain way when she's so frustrated. Well, she says they used the word liar. I didn't see it, so I can't really attest to that. But in her filing, Ashley Guillard is saying they used the word liar, and that was going too far. But the judge threw that out. And when the judge threw out the countersuit, Ashley got really upset. And she said she's going to sue all of the YouTubers that said anything about her about this case. Because, granted, there are quite a few that made some very funny videos. And I think that I'll actually pull one up for you. I don't condone this kind of, like, it's not something I would do. Let's say that. Okay. But did I watch it and think that it was funny? Yeah, I did. And am I going to share it with you because I thought it was funny and it's out there? Yeah, I am. Because this guy just did the eye roll thing and used her own words better than anybody I saw. And he did this after, he did this 7 days ago. His name is Ruin Leon. He has 263,000 subscribers, and all he does is make faces during all the statements that she made in the news reportings. Okay. Um, but it's the way he clipped it together. It is total snark, you know. It's 100% snark. I would not put something like this out. And I don't blame Ashley for thinking that people are poking at her and making fun of it. Because let's be honest, they are. And even I have said things that were not professional, in because I can't believe she's still going forward with this. Like, I want to just tell her, you're allowed to believe what you want to believe. I don't want people to pick on you because of the spirituality end of this. I mean, they're allowed to believe whatever they want. There are people that think that you're crazy because of it. And that's on them. Okay. I'm not going to say she's crazy. I'm going to say she's towing the hard line, not understanding the ramifications, and not understanding where she's at when she's doing it. She's in a legal proceeding now. Totally, in my opinion, Ashley Guillard right now is definitely not reading the room. Period. Like, read the room. This is legal now. There are rules that apply, procedures, and they don't fit the spirit guide thing. There is no precedent. And I'm actually curious to see if any gets set after this. I mean, what is she going to use? Your right to religious belief is not a defense for ignorance of the law. That's the only one I can think of. Your First Amendment rights to free speech is not defense of for ignorance of the law. Ignorance of the law isn't even a defense. You don't even get to go into court and say, I didn't know that law exists, so I couldn't be responsible. Because ignorance of the law is not a defense in criminal or civil. Period. So, like, she's guilty of not reading the room. And I kind of feel for her. I really do. Yeah. Mary, that's funny. Like, I don't think she deserves John Pryor. I feel for her. I do. And she'd be a bit John Pryor's not going to like these, but I actually think she's doing a better job defending herself than John Pryor would. So let's hope he doesn't actually look for her to be the new client. Unless she wants another client that can't pay the bills in another house to sell. I don't know. I don't even know if she owns her house. And I don't care. I don't care at this point. Well, John Pryor, no, I think you should stay out of it. She noped the judge. That's fantastic. Read it, Juju, please, and tell me if you see what I see, because it's freaking fantastic. Liam says, I tried to read it, but my spirit guides threatened to up and quit. Liam, come on. Interdepartmental politics, apparently, on the third celestial plane. Yeah, that was what, clause 22? No, that's just total snark. Of course not. Of course not. Why didn't the spirit guides give her a heads up in the fallout? I don't know. I think because they're spirit guides, they're telling her to be strong and carry forward. I don't know. I just don't know why she didn't see this motion, coming forward. I don't know why she didn't see the deadlines. Yeah, there's a video for you, and you don't have to watch it for class today. It's not homework. It's snarky good fun, and I think the eye rolls are worth it. I really do, Mrs. Cassandra. I want you to tell me if you think it's funny. Actually, I'm not the kind of creator that's going to order all my mods to watch that video. I am the kind of creator that orders all my mods to watch Princess Bride or to know who Tommy Wiseau is. That's the kind of creator I am. But I'm not going to force you to watch the video link I just posted. You get a free pass on that one. I don't know why I just thought that was so funny, but you're tickling. You got me. You got me. Yeah, the justice system is an illusion. It's an oppressive system, apparently, when you get to reading that. It's like, it's a little late. Mary, if you read the judgment, I think she did. I actually think that this filing is based on advice that she's getting that the judge is not in her favor, even though she's actually calling him prejudicial. She actually said he's got bias. And basically it was because if you read the first link on the decision that I put down there, on the judge's decision, he took a long time to lay out the precedent in the cases that showed whose responsibility it was to actually prove that the statements were false, and went back and forth. And then he said that it definitely was the plaintiff's responsibility, and it thankfully went through their filing and proved all the and pulled all the information that proved the accusations were false. Or could let me just stop saying the word prove. Let me say that they reasonably concluded that Ashley Guillard's claims were unsubstantiated. Now, it's about the language. It seems that Ashley Guillard is very upset about the language used, because when they say that they're relatively false or they are factually not true statements, she gets very offended because she keeps saying, my spirit guides don't lie. Don't you call my spirit guides liar. Like, she don't talk like that. I'm sorry. But basically what she's inferring is that you don't know it's not true. You just know I don't have evidence to prove it, which is the same thing in court. You see, legally, it means the same thing. Now, I admit that outside the legal system, you could probably skew that and say that those are two different things. They don't mean the same thing. And I get what she's saying, but she needs to understand that she is in the legal system now. And legally, it is true that they are unsubstantiated. So they are factually not true. They're factually false. I bet her hips don't lie either. Juju, I wonder, I love that. Now I got Shakira playing in my head. Thank you, Juju. That's a great way to end this segment, like with Shakira. Like, let's have a dance party. Damn, I do love me some Shakira. She's a rocker at heart. I love that woman. Okay. Timing is an illusion, and Basil is definitely faulty. What? Liam, please. Ah. Yes, I agree, Juju. She could actually take that stance. Oh, excuse me. I'll read that. Still not 100%. My apologies. The judge does have bias. The bias is for logic and reason. And I agree with this 100%. And I think that that is not going in her favor. I really do. But anyway, if you have more questions in regards to the Rust case, the New Mexico versus Alec Baldwin, which will be going to trial in July, I believe on the 10th. And if you have more you want to ask or have me research in regards to the TikTok psychic, is specifically the Scofield versus Guillard case, which apparently is still going on. We're not done yet. Okay, we're not done yet. Even though there is partial summary judgment, it is going in. There are motions to get rid of it, and there are appeals, and there is movement on the defendant's side, Ashley Guillard, to get it vacated and to go all over with that. But otherwise, if you don't have anything for me to talk about it, put it on the comment. Don't forget to like and share. And hopefully I'll see you all on Sunday to start our week right, where we're going to do absolutely nothing. It's going to be about nothing. We're going to talk about nothing. It's a nothing stream. Absolutely nothing. Hopefully with Juju, and hopefully Mrs. Cassandra, if she's available. And the three of us will try to nothing you into a great week. I know I enjoy it, and I hope to see you all there. In the meantime, there's plenty going on with the cases. Don't hesitate to contact me if you got something to say or you want clarification before we talk on Tuesday. Tuesday, we are definitely, the two I have scheduled are Boone and Tate. But there could be some sidelines on other things. I know you're all up on Karen Reed. A lot of you. I wouldn't say all of you. Some of you, for your own protection, have backed away, and I don't blame you. I got dragged in to watch it personally just because, it was mind blowing. It was absolutely mind blowing. Well, on that, thank you everybody who is here. Thank you for my mods for being so wonderful. Thank you, Mark, for starting the stream on such a good stroke. I admit it. And for all of those that are playing bingo, if you actually have a winning bingo card, send it to me, please. Put the date on it and get entered for June's drawing. Liam Wakefield won both April and May and sent all of his winnings to for a donation and charity. And I will be posting that on the community tab either tonight or tomorrow. I'm a little behind based on health and internet issues. And I'm sure I do thank you all for the grace that you've granted me and the patience. But we'll get caught up, you know. I did 16 pages of judge commentary on Sarah Boone today. So reading about a tarot reader's legal mind will be my next torture. Welcome to my world, Liam. I'm so glad to have you join me in the torture. Hello, Big Sexy. That's a nice name to say, but I'm heading out. Glad you joined us. Hope to see you at the next one. Mippet, thanks for being here. Everybody else, enjoy the outro. Hopefully, I will see you Sunday, if not Tuesday, for more true crime. Have a great one, everyone.